Aloha mai kako, hau'oli po'aono ia o koa pau. Aloha and happy Saturday to all of you. On behalf of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, it's my honor to welcome all of you here today with us and to express how grateful we are that you have chosen to spend some time with us in this very important meeting. O ke haulani pu'u ko'u inoa, o wau ka pou nui o ke ia ke ana Kuleana Hawaii. My name is Kei Haulani Pu'u, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Our CEO, Stacy Kealohalani Ferreira, is traveling, and so she is unable to join us today, but she extends her warm aloha and gratitude to all of you as well. My partner today is OHA's Chief Financial Officer, Ramona Hink, and together we will be presenting a preliminary overview of OHA's fiscal year 2026-2027 Biennium Budget. I'm also very happy and pleased and honored to be joined by these two lovely wahine to my right, Trustee of Moloka'i Lanai and Chair of our Budget and Finance Committee, Trustee Luana Alapa.
Aloha, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Saturday morning. A little bit hard for me, a little bit. When I wake up in the morning, gotta have my coffee. But I'm so glad I could come down and once again share with everyone our 2025 Preliminary Biennium Budget Community Presentation for the fiscal year of 2026-2027. And I am thrilled to be here because there's so much that I learned as well, being amongst these women here who run our departments and are doing a fantastic job. And I must say, Ke Haupu'u and of course, Ramona, Grace, Lisa, right? all of these beautiful wahine are here today to share with you the information and background of our presentation today so that you folks have a good idea of what it takes to run an agency, what it takes to give back to our people. And it's all about money, but it's about where those monies go and where they budgeted so that we can all ensure that OHA is run efficiently and that our beneficiaries are served by all means, served in the highest capacity possible because you guys are all deserving of that. Today's meeting is part of our OHA community input phase, and I think you'll get a better idea again, as I mentioned, about the input or looking into what we present to you today, the accessibility, transparency. It's all about that with OHA and our staff. And we want to ensure that all of you know that we are following an important strategic plan, the Mana Maoli Ola plan that is being mapped out. And we follow that because we know in the years to come that all of these functions, everything comes together, we will be able to measure the data and the output to see where we stand in the next 5 years. So at this time, I think we're ready to let's get this thing on the road. All right, go ahead, Kehao.
Mahalo nui. I also want to introduce our Director of Community Engagement, Lisa Von Sekuna, and she'll be sharing a few words in our pule in a little bit. I'll go first.
Okay. Aloha mai kako. I'll be sharing with you our community engagements. We kindly ask that you join us in creating a shared and safe space where we can interact and generate meaningful conversation, and thus we agree to stay engaged in the following ways. Ike kupuna. Ike kupuna is our foundation and guides our intentions and our interactions. Na'au. Na'au is a space from where we listen and receive so that we hear beyond our filters, listen to understand, and do not interrupt. Aloha. Speak with aloha. Your words matter. They can be healing or destructive. Please be mindful of tone and language. Makakau. Be ready to speak. You have 2 minutes to share. Please stay on topic. And Nā Lama. Please take care of yourself.
Okay. And then I'm also gonna just give a short pule to bless our time together. E kia kua mana loa ke mahalo nei mākou ia oe no ke ia la, no ko mākou mau pōmaikai o ia ho'i ke ola, ka noho ana ma kia mau kulana a me nā kule ana o kia hana. E olu e kia kua nauno e alakai mai, kia I mai a mākou. E alakai oe I ke ia hana, I kupono, e like me kou makemake me nā makemake o ko mākou mau kupuna, me ko mākou mau kaiaulu, a me ka lahui e kia kua. No laila, no e ho'ike mai I ka hana kupono, e o kela hana kupono ka mea puka ai. Ke ha'alele mako I keia wahi, nauno e kia'i malama mai a mako. A no na mea I poina ia ma kia pule nauno e ho'okomo. O kia ku'u leo pule ma ka inoa kaukiki hiwa hiwa o Yesu Christo. Amen. Okay, so we're going to get started, and you can keep it on this slide for a little bit. The Office of Hawaiian Affairs, we're holding this meeting today because budget consultation with our beneficiaries is a requirement under Hawaii Revised Statute, Chapter 10-14.5. But more importantly, and as our esteemed chair of the Budget and Finance Committee shared, community consultation is a critical and valued component of our budget process. We want to hear from all of you, and we want your feedback and mana'o to help further shape our budget and inform our priorities as we holomua in this process. Our agency's direction has been chartered and affirmed through our board-approved Mana'i Mauliola, or our strategic plan, which is rooted in the pillars of Ohana, Mo'omeheu, and Aina. These pillars are living commitments that guide everything we do to improve the well-being of our Native Hawaiian people and advance ea, or self-determination and sovereignty. This work is not about small fixes. It's about systemic transformation, about reshaping the systems of education, health, housing, and economic resilience, and all the things that impact the daily lives of our people. Mana'i Mauliola is more than just a document. It is a living, breathing call to action. Today's budget presentation is more than just numbers and programs. It's a blueprint for our future that honors the sacrifices of our kupuna and fulfills the hopes of our keiki. We truly want to build a Hawaii where our lahui can thrive for generations to come. And so we're going to kick off with our first slide. Next slide, please. So as Trustee Alapa shared, this preliminary budget today ensures transparency, accountability, and strategic clarity in our process and in what will be our final budget or our final product. Our proposed biennium budget outlines our planned investments and priorities over the next 2 fiscal years and represents the financial framework necessary to carry out and concretely implement OHA's vision, mission, and strategic plan. This document is one way in which we strive to demonstrate accountability to our Native Hawaiian community by clearly communicating how we intend to steward trust resources. This proposed budget reflects the values and needs of our beneficiaries and ensures that our financial planning is mission-driven and outcome-oriented. This overview helps set the stage for deeper discussion, refinement, and eventual adoption of our budget over the next month and a half or so. And so we do, again, welcome your mana'o so that you can help us share a budget that empowers OHA to carry out its mission. Next slide, please. So Mana'i Mauliola is OHA's strategic plan. Over a 15-year horizon, OHA is deploying 8 external strategies aligned with our foundational pillars and strategic directions, driving positive change toward comprehensive Native Hawaiian well-being, Mauliola, to realize an abundant and thriving lahui. The board-approved external endowment strategy ensures financial sustainability, enhancing our long-term capability to support beneficiary needs. Our combined external and internal strategies are critical to positioning OHA for long-term operational effectiveness, cultural alignment, and sustainable outcomes for Native Hawaiians. Next slide, please. So this budget strategically balances internal investments with robust community-focused program funding and mission-critical systems change. Our biennium budget's 3 priorities, people, process, and programs, are intentionally interconnected, creating a synergy that ensures our internal strength directly enhances external impact. So I'm going to talk about our 3 priorities. And our first is OHA as an employer of choice, because it is our limahana, our kanaka, who carry out this very important work here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. So recognizing our current stage of organizational rebuilding following workforce reductions and the post-COVID return to office mandate, we are strategically restoring internal capacities. prioritizing market-driven competitive compensation, which is essential to addressing long-standing, hard-to-fill vacancies. Our budget prioritizes competitive compensation and a supportive workplace culture to attract top talent, retain dedicated professionals, and reward excellence throughout our organization. Our employees are our greatest asset. We commit to invest significantly in workforce excellence and development, operational efficiency, and organizational agility to better serve our beneficiaries. Our second priority is strengthening operations and infrastructure. We all want to be as efficient and as effective as possible. So we remain committed to operational enhancements, refining processes, and deploying robust systems to streamline procurement, payments, travel management, talent recruitment and hiring, performance management and staff development, and comprehensive strategic plan performance reporting. And lastly, our third priority is executing transformational programs and services. Our budget supports strategies that directly align with and advance the vision of Mana'i Mauliola across education, health, housing, and economic resilience, as well as critical cultural responsibilities such as iwi kupuna and vite protections and preservation, and strategic Aina-back efforts to solidify a secure perpetual land base for Kanaka. We remain deeply committed to advocating for and securing our full 20% pro rata share of public land trust revenues, honoring the historical use of Hawaiian Kingdom Crown and government lands. We are driving towards intentional systems change through disrupting the pathway to prison and reduction of Native Hawaiian keiki in child welfare, creating coherence, permanence, and sustainability for our Native Hawaiian charter schools, funding for post-high scholarships, and bolstering resources for Aina and Ahupua'a stewardship to correct systemic dispossession, inequities, and injustices. To foster economic empowerment, our strategies prioritize economic self-sufficiency through entrepreneurship, support OEV-owned business growth, and build sustainable economic resilience within our communities. Recognizing the critical need for affordable and sustainable housing, OHA is creating and implementing tangible home ownership and housing programs to ensure our ohana can access safe, affordable homes, supporting generational wealth, security, and enabling ohana to remain in Hawaii, maintaining their kupuna ties to these islands. This includes dedicated funding for home repairs focused on essential health and safety improvements. Specifically, we aim to ensure our kupuna can age safely and comfortably at home, and that ohana have resources available to address sorely needed repairs impacting their quality of life, free from health and safety hazards. We are also dedicated to increasing civic engagement and leadership development, specifically by investing in programs to cultivate the next generation of OEV leaders who will actively lead, shape, and enact meaningful policy at local, state, and federal levels. Our budget also includes dedicated funding for targeted awareness campaigns, highlighting the power and importance of the Kanaka vote, driving active civic participation, and amplifying support for key Native Hawaiian legislative initiatives. To enhance our effectiveness, we are strategically evolving our spending model from exclusively granting funds to a mix of community grants and precision-driven contracting with community organizations. Contracts will allow for community entities to deliver highly defined strategic programs and services on behalf of OHA. Grants and sponsorships will continue supporting flexible, community-led initiatives aligned with our strategic vision. This blended funding approach ensures measurable progress and impactful outcomes that fulfill the transformational goals set forth in Mana'i Mauliola. Next slide, please.
Aloha mai kaiko. This slide provides an overview of the budget process and a general overview of the sources and uses of funds. The development of OHA's biennial budget begins with a strategic plan. From this strategic plan, the implementation plan and tactics are created to guide all operational activities and projects that OHA intends to undertake in the next 2 fiscal years. The budget is a financial expression of these plans and activities. Once spending priorities are identified, constraints on funding sources and spending decisions are considered. Constraints include both restrictions on the funds that OHA receives, as well as previous commitments the agency has made to further the mandate and mission. Our spending limit, or the total funds we can spend, are presented in the first and second quadrant. First, 2 of our sources of funds are provided by the state of Hawaii. One by law and the other by legislature appropriations. In 2022, via Act 226, the Public Land Trust revenues were increased from 15.1 million to 21.5 million. Also, OHA also receives Hawaii General Fund appropriations of 3 million in fiscal 26 and fiscal 27. Second, the third and largest sources of funds are the Native Hawaiian Trust Fund, and that is comprised of financial and real estate assets. Projected at 24.9 million for fiscal 26 and 27.1 million for fiscal 27. Third and fourth are our uses of funds. The budget first accounts for existing salaries and a fringe benefit rate of 64.25 set by the state of Hawaii, and recurring expenses such as program expenditures, rent and CAM, utilities, debt service, followed by strategic programs and services, and grants. Discretionary expenses such as travel and training are considered last. Fourth, OHA honors long-standing commitments, including provisos for the state general fund appropriations with matching OHA funds. We also support DHHL's debt service agreement and pledging roughly 17 million annually to beneficiary grants and services. In alignment with board-approved strategies, the administration determines where resources are optimally deployed to achieve the strategic outcomes. We are seeking your input in the development of the biennial budget. This step will help to inform administration about observations and your mana'o prior to the submission of the final biennial budget to the Board of Trustees in June of 2025. Details of the sources and uses of funds are in the following slides. Next slide.
I'm going to talk about core funding. So I think as Mona shared, OHA operations are divided into core and non-core budgets, ensuring financial clarity, accountability, and strategic resource alignment. Non-core operations are funded independently through our commercial leasing revenues and through federal grant funding. This separation ensures dedicated, reliable funding for repairs, maintenance, and our infrastructure facility support of our commercial and legacy land properties and specialized federal project initiatives such as the Native Hawaiian Revolving Loan Fund and Land Assets REP grant. The core operating budget, as Mona shared, comes from 3 essential revenue streams. The first is our Native Hawaiian Trust Fund, and so 24.9 million is projected for fiscal year 26, 27.1 for fiscal year 27 for a total of 52 million. This budget articulates a 4.4% spend rate for the Native Hawaiian Trust Fund, financial assets, and real estate together. To account for increased fixed costs, we've added funds from the Hawaii direct investment into the spending ceiling. Under current policy, the spending limit for the Native Hawaiian Trust Fund is calculated at 5% over 20 rolling quarters, which includes financial and real estate assets, which would allow for a spending ceiling of 27.2 million in fiscal year 26. The preliminary budget presented contains a biennium spending amount of 52 million, in which the real estate assets are based on the net free cash flow generated over the prior two fiscal years at 2.25 million in fiscal year 26 and 2.25 million in fiscal year 27. We are utilizing a conservative approach for the budget ceiling to ensure financial assets can implement its long-term strategy and account for the current state of the Hawaii real estate investment portfolio. I knew that, to meet its spending contribution, along with compliance with our loan covenants. Second stream is our Hawaiian Kingdom Crown and Government lands, also known as Public Land Trust revenues. This provides for consistent funding of $21.5 million annually, for a total of 43 million over the next 2 years. And finally, as Mona referenced in her slide previous, State of Hawaii general funds. The State of Hawaii currently provides appropriations of $3 million annually, so 6 million total. So altogether, these core funding sources will generate approximately $101 million over the biennium. So we have 49.4 in fiscal year 26 and 51.6 in fiscal year 27. And this sets our spending ceiling for the next 2 fiscal years. Next slide.
This is a total operating budget, and it is 123.3 million in fiscal 26 and 27. So this slide is an overview of our uses of funds. As you can see in the donut chart, core budget is 77% of the total operating budget, and non-core, which represents commercial properties, federal funds, and legacy land, is composed of 23%. The core operating budget, which totals 95.1 million over 2 years, is composed of 46.8 million in fiscal 26 and 48.3 million in fiscal 27. The non-core budget is excluded from this focus due to their independent funding and operations. The non-core budget derives revenues from separate sources, such as commercial properties at 21.4 million, federal programs at 6.3 million, and legacy land programs at $464,000. The donut chart shows the percent allocation of the total uses of funds of 123 million over the 2 fiscal years, 61.7 million in fiscal 26 and 61.6 million in fiscal year 27. Next slide. Okay, this slide represents the core operating budget, which in the previous slide I indicated was 95.1 million. First and foremost is personnel, which totals 41.4 million and is composed of 44% of the total core operating budget. The second largest is beneficiary grants and services that totals 33.4 million, and that represents 35% of the donut chart. These two categories account for 79% of the core operating budget. The other 21% is spread over the 5 expense categories: equipment, program, overhead, contracts, and services. Travel, excuse me. The total core biennial budget, as I said, is 95.1 million. Fiscal 26 is 46.8 million, and for fiscal 27, it's at 48.3 million. Next slide.
So we're going to go through these expense or budget categories in the following slides, but spend a little bit more time in our on beneficiary grants and services. And that's because this is where OHA invests in our community and in our beneficiaries through programs and services. As Mona shared, this beneficiary grants and services makes up 35% of OHA's total budget being proposed, and that's at about $33.4 million. And OHA's support comes through three different categories. The first being direct beneficiary aid, which is aid that is provided to Native Hawaiian individuals, through impact funding to community organizations, and finally through investments to strengthen systems, and this is primarily with other government agencies. Our funding mechanisms, or the ways through which we disperse these funds, include grants, and that is community grants, and we openly solicit for those grants, through board-directed grants, through loans, intergovernment funding, and through procured contracts, which I talked about earlier. OHA is making an effort to utilize precision-driven contracting as a way to achieve our outcomes this year. And also added, we do have some funds through overhead and program costs that will directly benefit our communities or beneficiaries. So I've included that as well. Next slide, please. So again, beneficiary grants and services make up 35% of OHA's total budget. And that's at $33,400,350. And so this slide just gives a breakdown of that total. And so in the three categories that I previously spoke about, in direct beneficiary aid, we are proposing $4.8 million as part of this biennium budget proposal. For impact funding to organizations, almost $16.5 million. And then finally, in our system strengthening investments, $12.2 million. And so our aid makes up 14% of that $33.5 million. Org impact funding makes up 49%, and that is our largest at 49%. And then finally, system strengthening investments at 37%. Next slide, please. And this is just a further breakdown of those three categories. And I won't read them all, but I will provide some highlights of some of the programs and services in these categories. So indirect beneficiary aid, we have our emergency financial assistance program, funding at $830,000. Our higher education scholarship program at $300,000, and community legal resources funding. And this is funding provided to Kahuliao for their A'oaku A'omai program, and that's at $270,000, $135K per fiscal year. Under org impact funding, which is our largest of the three categories, community grants program, you can see our amounts: housing at $1 million, education $1.230, Aina at another $1 million, and economic resilience at $740,000. We are going to continue our newly rolled out Ho'akuakua Lahui event sponsorship program. And this program is a consolidation of our former Ahahui grants as well as our sponsorship program. And that's at $1.6 million for $800,000 per fiscal year. And then each of our Mana'i Mauliola strategic directions has funding that is dedicated to it, as you can see. And finally, BOT Policy Series 2000. So we have funding that is dedicated to support EV, repatriation, advocacy via Aina. Lastly is our system strengthening investments. So OHA continues to support Hawaiian-focused charter schools at $3 million a year for a total of $6 million. Native Hawaiian law training, also with the University of Hawaii, at $200,000, and funding to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands at $6 million. Next slide, please. This slide is still beneficiary grants and services, but it's just a different cut and way of looking at how resources are being allocated. And so this is by looking at our strategic directions. So this is how we've cut it. So in educational pathways, almost 10 million is being dedicated to that. And a couple of things I'll highlight is bringing back OHA's AHA OPO program and starting a Native Hawaiian practitioner CTE pathway program. In health outcomes, Almost $2.4 million will be dedicated to that. And a couple of things I'll highlight is a Pu'uhonua Restorative Justice Program, as well as trying to establish a Native Hawaiian Specialty Court. And these are initiatives that are intended to help change the systems in which we are operating. Quality housing, a little over $11 million. I want to point out our Malama Honua or home repair for health and safety program at $1 million. And continuation of our access to home ownership program or AHO at $1.5 million a year. Economic stability, we are allocating almost $2 million towards this strategic direction. So we have something I'll point out is internships in career pathways in tech and innovation, as well as scholarships for Native Hawaiian students in food systems, culinary arts, and ag tech. Lastly is our BOT policy series. $80,000 is being allocated to provide training and to convene and train our island burial councils. And $500,000 a year is being committed to support the Hawaiian Kingdom Crown and Government lands inventory. And this is part of our goal of that 20% pro rata share of our public land trusts. Next slide, please.
Personnel. Approximately 44% of OHA's core operating budget, or 41.4 million, is allocated to our personnel costs. So that is 19.4 million in fiscal 26 and almost 22 million in fiscal 27. Personnel costs also includes a 64% fringe benefit rate that the state of Hawaii places on us. This core budget excludes personnel funded by our non-core sources like commercial property and our federal grants. The personnel budget also reflects an anticipated 7% vacancy rate in fiscal 26 and no vacancies in fiscal 27. Of the total personnel costs, approximately 61% is for employee salaries and 39% is for the fringe benefit load. Next slide. Contracts. Approximately 4% of OHA's core operating budget, totaling 4 million, 2.4 million in fiscal 26 and 1.6 million in fiscal 27, is allocated to contracts. This includes office support of 1.1 million and real estate land planning due diligence, excuse me, at 788,000. These two categories make up 75% of the 4 million total contract budget, or $3 million. Court counsel trustee contracts account for the remaining 1 million budget. Next slide. Overhead. OHA allocates approximately 7.1 million or 3.7 million in fiscal 26 and 3.6 million in fiscal 27 to overhead, which is approximately 7% of the core biennium budget. First and foremost is office leases, which account for $4.1 million. This is over half of the overhead budget. And this is comprised of support for 6 of our offices across the state of Hawaii and a placeholder for an office in Washington, D.C. With utilities, next. The utilities support the offices and include electricity, telephone, internet service, cellular services, and water. And it's comprised of $782,000 for the budget. The two categories, or a total of 69% of OHA's budget, is for offices across the state of Hawaii, staffed with our beneficiary service agents to support our lahui. The remaining 12% of the, 1.4%, 1.4 million is for insurance premiums, and the remaining 12% of the overhead budget is spread over 5 other expense categories. Next slide. Our program budget category is allocated approximately 3.7 million or 1.8 million for fiscal 26 and 1.9 million for fiscal 27, and is roughly 4% of the core biennium budget. The following are the total estimated expenditures over the next 2 years. The highest one is 1.4 million for our Kawaiʻola publication for printing and distribution costs. Second largest is comprised of 722,000 for conferences, meetings, and events. The top two program expenses account for 58% or 2.1 million of the 3.7 total program expense categories. The next three program categories average 350,000 each for staff training, advertising, and other expenses. The remaining four category expenditures account for 14% in professional dues and subscriptions, community event partnerships, trustee protocols, and honorariums. Next slide. Equipment. OHA allocates 3.8 million or approximately 4% of the core biennium budget to equipment. And that includes repairs and maintenance, subscription-based IT agreements, and software and equipment. Repairs and maintenance include various upkeeps for OHA facilities and totals 2.2 million or 57% of the total equipment budget. Subscription-based IT agreements for software licenses and maintenance renewals total 1.2 million and is 31% of the equipment budget. Software and equipment includes IT software, hardware, and other purchases required for ongoing operations and totals $407,000 or 11% of the total equipment budget. And 41,000 is for equipment budget that is reserved for needed office furniture and fixtures, and that comprise 1% of the total equipment budget.
So that concludes our budget presentation. At this time, we're going to move into testimony. So before we start, I'm just going to share some guidelines. So for testimony, each testifier will be given 2 minutes to speak. We ask that you introduce yourself before you start to provide your testimony. A timer will be used to track time, and when you are coming close to your time limit, you will hear a bell that sounds like this. And that means you have 30 seconds left to wrap up and complete your testimony. This format today will be for testimony only. We will not be utilizing a Q&A format. We want to ensure all testifiers are able to provide their mana'o. Kelly, do we have any testifiers today?
We do not.
Mahalo, Kelly. And so with that, because we have no testifiers, both in person or online, I will extend my mahalo to all of you. I'm going to ask Trustee Alapa to close us out. But before I do, I just want to say mahalo to the team, to Ramona and Grace, Lisa, our comms team, our IT team, Kelly, Bill, for all being here with us and helping us to carry out these meetings. Oh, yeah. And our CEO, who was here for the first two. Just mahalo ya'oko, Royce, and our operations team as well.
Thank you so much. You guys have done an outstanding job. I'm going to say this, met with the team for the past 2 months, And when you look at these numbers and the breakdown of each of the categories, the amount of work that it takes to crunch these numbers, it is mind-boggling. I'm not a numbers girl, but boy, I'll tell you guys, I truly appreciate the work that you guys do. It's crazy. You guys have to understand, when we're looking at where every penny goes, they're doing a great job so that we can bring the best services to our Lahui. And, I hope you learned something valuable from today's preliminary biennium budget presentation. It can be a bit overwhelming, especially when you look at the charts and the breakdown and the circles of where everything is. But it just goes to show that we truly care, and we want you to know how much we want to be transparent so that you will understand what it takes to run an agency of this nature. I just hope that you folks have a better appreciation for this. And once again, I cannot thank everyone enough for all the work that you've done. We've got ways to go, though. We still got more reviews. Numbers will still keep coming in. We'll be making adjustments. But I think overall, we're going to be very happy with our final presentation before it goes into effect on July 1st, right? Yay! So excited. But everyone have a wonderful Saturday afternoon. In fact, have a great weekend. Mahalo for joining us.